Hi, everybody. This is David Valenzuela with I Wish Podcast. For today's episode, we are featuring Mariah Sanchez of Project SD in Arizona. We are going to go over all things about how she began her career in aesthetics, how she built her first book of business, moving states and starting over from scratch with no business, being a mom in this industry, all the fun things about, we're going to talk about acne. We're also going to talk about her new project, which I wanted to make sure we mentioned it, projectsd.com, if you're going to look for more information about it. But there's some really exciting things. I'm not even going to reveal them in the intro. You're going to have to listen to the episode. So welcome to it. Let's get to it. Mariah has been practicing aesthetics since 2012. So many exciting things, moving states, rebuilding a business, and now getting ready to do something very, very exciting, which I'm going to wait. We're actually going to talk about it. So Mariah, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, David. This is amazing. I absolutely love you. I love your brand, and I'm just so excited to be here. So thank you so much.
I love it. And you've had a busy weekend. So I appreciate you taking the time out of here. It is actually storming and getting ready to have like a Southern California massive rain. Like hopefully we won't float away during this podcast.
Well, good thing I left just in time then.
I know. So we could talk a little bit about what that was about. But so I ask everybody at the very beginning of the podcast, when did your interest in aesthetics begin?
That is so funny. So I actually originally was interested in hair, believe it or not. So I actually never even, back in 2010, 2011, estheticians, like the word esthetician wasn't even like a thing. Like people did not really know what that was. I was always interested in like makeup and hair. So I thought, okay, I go to school and I get my license to do hair and that's it. Well, I went in to sign the papers for hair school. And when I walked in the building, I saw that there was a spa on the left-hand side of the building. And I was like, wait, what is that? And she like took me on a tour and she walked me through. And I just remember seeing these girls like doing facials, and it was like a spa setting, and it was just so beautiful. And I was like, at the time I had really bad acne. Like my skin was, I had so many skin problems. So I was really fascinated with what they were doing. And I left that day, signed up for the aesthetics program. I literally switched routes, and I'll never forget that. And I remember leaving that day being so excited because I was going to be able to like heal my skin, and then help other people do the same. And that's where my like everything honestly started. And I have not looked back since that day.
So you were living in Washington at this point, correct?
Yes. Yep.
What product line did you use in school?
Dermalogica.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
It's like a
I started with
consistent thing.
Dermalogica.
So it's an interesting path because we've all weaved in and out of all these brands and all this exposure. And, we had a big push back in the day to actually, because IDI, Dermalogica is so focused on education of getting into a lot of schools. So it's very rare now that I meet an esthetician that hasn't had some exposure to Dermalogica, usually in school. So I love that. So, and getting exposed, everybody has a different path, right? Some people are like, I saw this esthetician in my salon and she was making a ton of money. And I was like, what is she doing? And I want to do that. And other people are like, I wanted to be a makeup artist on CNN and I need to get so it's very interesting to hear the path. So you saw it, you're like, I want to do what she's doing. That feels inspiring. I love that it's actually at the school, like the day of, like, let's go tour that spot. And you're like, yes, that's what I want to do. So Mariah, after you graduated from school, what did you do? What was the first thing you did after graduation?
Okay, so it's funny. I actually like in school they award you little things, like top retail sales. Like they really like try and whatever. I remember I was so excited because I was the first esthetician who was hired, like still in school, like to become an esthetician. Like in the time before, like graduating school and getting my actual license, there's like a little gap there because you have to go take your tests and stuff. But I was hired as like potential to have my aesthetic license at Sephora, because Sephora was the cool spot back then. And I was going to get to go from the makeup. I was working like the makeup department. I was going to get to upgrade to the aesthetics department. And now, like knowing what I know about aesthetics, I'm like, what in the world? Why was I so proud of that? Like, but at the time it was like the coolest thing. And I was so proud and excited to like be able to work at Sephora. And then actually a few months later got hired on as a benefit brow arch expert at Ulta. And that was like, I had made it. I was so excited.
As we're involved in aesthetic groups, the Money Making Esthetician and Aesthetic Collective and all these things, forums essentially for estheticians to get information. And there's no wrong path, right? You're going to figure it out no matter what it is. It is very interesting. And a lot of people are interested in what the path looks like directly when you graduate. And I always say and preach is like, go and work somewhere. Don't go and run a suite solo and try to you don't know anything yet. You just got your license. You're so excited and that enthusiasm. I never want to squash it, but
Yeah.
I can tell from being, 25 plus years in the industry, Mariah, like the people that actually have a launching pad are the ones that go work somewhere and actually start doing facials, start doing waxing, start doing brows, whatever, lash lifts, whatever your jam is, and just get a little bit of feel for what you're doing, what you like, so that you can then navigate. You can always go solo, but that crucial first step out of school, I just got, and I was telling the story about the girl that got the $30,000 from her dad to buy the hydrofacial machine, but she's in a room with no clients.
Yeah.
And I feel bad for her because, the shiny object syndrome is real and there's modalities that have a place. But you got to have the fundamentals down, first of all, of what you want to do. So I love
Right.
that. You got some Sephora exposure. It is. So every time our Sephora out here closest to our office is right by, it's inside of Kohl's.
Yeah.
And so whenever we have to do an Amazon return, we go into Kohl's, right, to do our Amazon return, go to
Right.
Kohl's. And I have always been shocked at the age of the little girls and I know it's been on TikTok and it's been blown up, but I'm like, these 13-year-old girls are buying $400 to $600 worth of products. Their baskets are full of product. And that I directly equate it to social media.
Yep.
I'm like, what little girl, you're 13. Why are you buying
Why do you
$600?
need a retinol? I know. No, yeah, don't even get me started. We know the drama with
It's
all that's
such a
going on with these
thing.
young people. But it's social media and they're just like being, led by people who are uninformed or making a lot of money by pushing these brands. And, 13-year-old doesn't see that. And
No.
it's unfortunate.
I have a friend, Michelle. She used to be one of my reps for Aveda. She lives in Hawaii. She has a teenager now. And
Mhm.
so Michelle reports back to me frequently on what all the girls are trending and like the lip mask that they have to have and like all this crazy stuff. And I'm like, Michelle, that is crazy. She's like, I know their dads give them $500 to go
I'm
to
like,
Sephora. And I'm like,
you know how much professional skincare you can get with $500?
I
You can get
know. So
really good routine.
you obviously have some really exciting news. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about how you built your first book of business and all that stuff. But the goal as we continue with this podcast and the brand and like growing and building it up is to really create further awareness around what estheticians are, first of all, what services they can provide, and like make it just something that somebody would think about, like, oh yeah, I go to my esthetician for that. Like before I would actually navigate going into a Sephora or something to ask questions, find a local esthetician. And
Exactly.
yes.
Yes, love
So
it.
when you go, so you're doing brows for benefit at Ulta. And
Yeah.
then what happens after Ulta?
So after Ulta, I realized actually in Ulta that I was like, oh my gosh, I am slaying 20 clients on average a day. And so that actually, I worked really hard. I was taught by the best. Honestly, there's this girl, she was the RAM, she was the manager of our area. Her name's Kelsey, and I'll never forget her. She's just one of those people that just I will remember the things that she taught me for the rest of my life. And I remember through that like first year, she would teach me sales, how to sell, how to add value, and how just so much, obviously, so much more than I could say in like a sentence, but just how to be successful as like getting people in, rebooking them, how to keep them, coming back to you, just all the foundation things that, I needed as a solo esthetician, I was taught at that benefit brow bar. And so I, through that process was like, holy smokes, I am getting 20 plus clients a day waxing eyebrows, and I get a tip from each of those, but I know what they are making from me, and I'm selling 3 to 5 products per client.
Yeah.
Um, I know I see these numbers. And so I guess for me, it was like motivation of like, okay, if they will come back to me, they like me, not just Ulta.
Mhm.
So I have something special here. So I want to be able to do this on my own. So that is what led me to opening up a business in my house, is
Yeah.
where I originally started as a solo SD outside of benefit.
I love it. I love it. So, and you know what? It's a great story, and they all, It's led you to where you are today. So I have a funny story about Ulta. So back in the day, this all goes back to Dermalogica too. So we were hyper focused, obviously, on making sure that Ulta and Sephora were calling us for years when I worked for Dermalogica to carry the brand. And Ray and Jane, founders of Dermalogica, were like, we're not part. They have to have a licensed skin therapist, as you know, the Dermalogica language, a skin therapist in the location before they can actually sell the product. So one day, I was living in Atlanta at this point. I was flying to LA constantly because we're based in LA. And the CEO of Ulta was in the building. Her name was Lynn Kirby at the time. Jane, very humble, lovingly put her in her car and she drove her to one of our flagships, which is called Dermalogica Montana. And
Mhm.
she said, this is who we are. This is what we do. If you can emulate a part of this into your stores, we will partner with Ulta. And that's when they started putting the pods in the back of Ultas. Remember, I don't even know if they're doing it anymore. There's a little salon, a little pod, a little.
Yep.
That's how that partnership started. So I don't know where it is now. I know that their Dermalogica is in all the stores across the country, but I just thought it was interesting that they were willing to put in pods in new Ultas in order to have a brand. It's like, what?
Those pods were like the coolest thing ever. In fact, when I got hired on as an esthetician, that was actually what I had applied for, was that position. And I was getting ready to move into that, and that was going to be what I was going to do. But then I ended up doing my own thing, so it worked out perfect. But I remember at the time being like, these pods are like, who does this? It's like a little bed in there and all the backbar products. It's like you get to
Yeah.
be a solo esty within like Ulta. It was like the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I know. It was a moment in time. I love it. So, one of the other questions that we get on the show is really having an understanding of how estheticians built their first book of business. And the stories have been all over the board. And, I always say one size fits one. So, tell the listener, Mariah, a little bit about how you built your first. I know, obviously, getting exposed to brows and stuff, but how did you build your first book of business?
Honestly, it goes back to social media. I really utilized social media, Instagram in particular. And, it's like emotional to even think about, because at the time when I was first on social media, it wasn't a big thing. Like,
Yeah.
it wasn't like it is now.
Yeah.
And people would really think that I was crazy. Like, literally, like, why my family members, my friends, my neighbor. Okay, honest to God, my neighbor, like, I would sit in front. I had a giant window in front of my front, entrance, and my neighbor's house would look right into my house. And I would have my phone set up. I didn't have a tripod. I literally set my phone on my windowsill, and I would sit on my carpet and I would record videos of me educating my clients.
Yeah.
And my neighbor, I remember she'd be like, "What are you doing? Why are you posting videos of yourself?" I'm like, "Listen, I know this looks crazy, but one day this is going to pay off."
Yeah.
Long story short, I would just be making videos and content, and just going on my stories. Stories wasn't even a thing, but posting, educating my clients, potential clients, on skincare, and like, oh, you need to be double cleansing, and why do you exfoliate? How many times should you be exfoliating a week? Like, I would come up with all of these things and start educating people online, and I would get like 2 views, but I was so excited because I was just doing what I liked.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and that was like a newer thing back then. I feel like a lot of people, like, it was really on Facebook, honestly, more than even Instagram, at the start. And that people were like watching me. And then it just like continued to grow. And I didn't have any fancy equipment. I just knew that I could reach people through social media, and it's a free platform like Facebook and Instagram. It's free. It's free
Yeah.
advertisement. Why would I not utilize it? And so I
Yeah.
figured that out very early on, and I just never gave up, honestly. And that is what brought a lot of people to me. Now, that might have been like the honey that like attracted the bees to me, but once they
Yes.
came and saw me in person, I really hyper focused on giving them the best service. Like, how can we call it fine wine and dine. This is also something that I learned through Benefit. It's like fine wine and dine your clients, like top tier best service. How do you do that? It's like greeting them at the front door before they even ring that doorbell, getting them to come in, asking if they have questions, bringing them water, analyzing, doing like a thorough skin analysis, like just really going above and beyond. And my clients felt it. Like, even if it was just my neighbor who would literally, I'm not even kidding, she would walk down the street because she found me on a Facebook group, walk down to the house, and I would find wine and dine her. And that is someone who, like, she'd come in, she experienced that, she noticed and felt the difference. She's like, I don't know, I've never met you, but I just feel like I know you. And I just, she would tell other people. And then that's the word of mouth at that time was huge. And that's literally what helped me grow my clientele.
Yeah, building your business. So I think that I remember, I love talking about Jane. Jane, I remember she said, David, the estheticians have it so much easier these days because we didn't have social media back in the day. There was no free advertising platforms. And I think you brought up a couple of good points. With one is, I love Fine Wine and Dine, like Find Wine. I love it because we've got to treat our customers like they're celebrities all the time, because that's really, it's about your relationship, but
Yeah.
also the consistency. So, going on and doing a post, you guys, a social media strategy, or just a platform, or just even choosing a platform, where you want to spend your time. There's never going to be a shortage for content, and you're never going to be done. So
Yeah.
just because you did one post and you got 2 likes and you're like, oh, well, that didn't do anything. It's about consistency, and it's never going to end. So whatever, I always talk about focus, but I say that if you're looking at a teenage demographic, then they're probably hanging around on TikTok. If you're looking at maybe adult women, 40 something is your demographic, probably hanging out on Facebook, and then there's this middle ground that's hanging around on Instagram. But it has changed a lot, so that, Mariah, the as a brand owner, so I'm inundated every day. The first half hour of my day is just going through and deleting people trying to sell me shit as a brand, like
Yeah.
marketing, and we're going to do this for you. And by the time I see big giant platforms partnering with a social media, I'm like, it's already over. It's already done. Like, it's done. I'm not spending any money. I've spent a lot of money when we first started. I'm never doing it again. I'm like, we're just going to do organic content
Yeah.
and build it that way, because the fake crap, I'm like, oh my God, it could get a little out of control.
And it's not
So,
even long term. Like, when you do that, it's like it's short and it's not sustainable. So I commend you for that.
and the people I've had Stephanie. I recorded with Stephanie Lane. She owns a waxing company down in Texas, and she's told some really graphic stories about being a waxer and doing Brazilians, and like all the stories that go on with, that could be a whole nother podcast. But she's had some of those videos go viral. And she's like, I made $6,000 that day. There was so much attention around that stuff. It
Yeah.
is like a great little money moment, but it's not sustainable. You're not going to go viral every time you do a post. So trying to chase that is like, so consistency is key, and like really defining your brand and what you represent. So the other thing that, obviously having predominantly female dominated industry, 98% of estheticians are still women.
Yeah.
Mariah is a busy mom. She's got 2 kids. So Mariah, just tell everybody like what a typical day looks like for you, because I know you're hustling. I see your posts, I see your stories. You've got kids, you've got a husband, you're working out. Like, give the listener a typical day in Mariah's world.
Oh my gosh, every day looks different. And I mean, it's so crazy because I feel like things change with me a lot. Like, things are changing, and I love to, like, always be moving forward, always be doing better. And that is from my day to day to like my year to year. I always want to be improving. And so
Yeah.
sometimes I just get an epiphany and I'm like, listen, I have this idea. We're going to act on it. We're doing it now. And my husband's like 100% supportive and on board. And he is just as crazy as I am. So we just together are just like, let's go.
Yeah.
And so every day looks different. I would say a typical day, obviously waking up, getting my kids ready for school is the first part of my morning. I try and lay everything out the night before. Like, I try and like pack lunches, have the outfits, everything ready the night before. So we wake up and our mornings are smooth. Get them off. And then I really hit the ground with, responding to all of my emails, DMs. I try and like delegate time to that. And then some days I'm going to the treatment room where I'm taking clients. And then other days, like right now, because I'm transitioning into some other big things right now, I'm actually just transitioning and working on a lot of other things.
Yeah.
So whatever it is for the day, it's either clients or that,
And
honestly.
how old are your boys?
They are 8 and 9.
Okay, so that deserves a gold medal already right there. Cause I remember being a kid. I have two sisters and both my parents worked, and the morning hustle just to get out of the door, like with your teeth brushed, your hair combed, your clothes on, your lunch, you got to get dropped. Like it's just every single day is like a marathon moment to get out of the door at the right
Yes,
time. Like, geez,
it is.
moms.
I'm like, we barely make it. I'm like, some days we survive and some days we thrive. We're mostly surviving, but hey, we're still here, so it's
I
okay.
know. I love it. I love it. I love it. So Mariah, being in the industry for the amount of time that you've been in, what are you seeing? What are you seeing evolving in aesthetics right now? So, and I have differing opinions, and people have differing answers based off where they're living. But since you started, obviously, 12 years ago, are you seeing what trends are you currently seeing in the industry?
I would say one thing, like obviously I'm in Arizona. I was in Washington. I am in Arizona. So I think you're right about like things being different in different areas for sure. I would say overall, and I'm kind of looking at this big picture. Number one, more and more people are aware of skincare. Like they're just aware of we need to be taking care of our skin. We need to be wearing sunscreen. All of the things like growing up, my mom never taught me any of these things. Like, and a lot of like women my age say the same thing. Like, we were never taught this. We were literally using St. Ives scrubs on our face. Like, we did not know. I feel like one like major trend, if you would say, is just people becoming more aware that skincare is like healthcare. It's important. It's very
Mhm.
important. And so I love that. I love that for us, especially as estheticians. And then also like as far as like technology and just things, I would say like advanced equipment. There's a lot more equipment, and I work with Zemitz, who they have a lot of equipment, and just even being there this weekend and seeing like the new lasers and the new like technology is just it's advancing so quickly, and I
Yeah.
think the minimum downtime to some of these treatments and the like results that you can get with minimum downtime is getting like better and better, and it's super exciting.
I love it. So the learning never ends part of the industry, right? Education for the win
Yeah.
because you're never going to be done. The technology is advancing, Wish, as you know, being focused on microbiome health. The Just in the last 2 years, the amount of research that has come out about the microbiome and how to slow. So my original introduction to the microbiome was really studying acne, the formation of acne, and what is actually happening with the bacteria on the skin that would allow that to happen. And what I've been uncovering since understanding that, introducing phytoactive clearing serum, all the research that went in behind that, is how we can actually slow. I know the industry is obsessed with anti-aging. I don't like the term, but slow the aging process down
Yeah.
by having a healthy microbiome, which having a healthy barrier and microbiome go hand in hand. But
Yeah.
the more research, even the collection methods are advancing with all of the bacteria that's actually present on the skin, which I know grosses people out. You guys, if you're listening and you don't know a lot about acne, we all have the bacteria on our skin that creates acne. There's a bunch of varying factors that actually play into if you actually are going to ever have acne, but it's a very interesting thing to study it because C. acnes bacteria actually keeps staph bacteria from overproliferating on the skin. They like keep each other in check. So if you ever have had a staph infection, it's the overproliferation that's actually overtaken the C. acnes bacteria. It's just fascinating, education, it's never ending, and it's going to be going forever. So Mariah, having moved, so you be starting in Washington, relocating to Arizona. You got the sunshine now. I don't know what your weather's like today, but it's crazy here. It's been raining. Um, what are some essential tips that you think are relevant for the esthetician today, 2024, that you believe should be like a foundation for a business moving forward? You're an esthetician. Like, what are a couple of tips that have been really, really good for you and your business and keeping it profitable?
Okay, this is so good. So number one, and I put this into like my R, so like my R strategy. It's like number one is relationship. Work
Yes.
on relationship. You have to have people skills. If you don't have good people skills or you feel kind of like nervous or not confident, like there are so many resources to find like simple techniques, tips, tricks, like how do I boost confidence? How do I have a better self-image? Like the way I perceive myself. How can I make myself better? Like self-help, it's like there's little things that we can do to help boost our confidence. But I think that also goes into like deeper, like loving ourselves and, just being okay with the person that we are and how we are. And then that reflects on the outside. And I feel like our clients really feel that, and they can see and feel that confidence. And also like relationship with your clients, building that relationship, asking your clients questions, getting to know them, making the treatment about your client, not about you. Like
Yes.
they are the star of the treatment room and you are asking them questions about them. And people love to talk about themselves. So that's what we want. We want them to enjoy their time with us. So I would say that's number one. Number two is results. We need to be result driven, especially this day and age. Now, there are so many people who, want a relaxation facial or treatment and they want to relax, but to be profitable, now you said profitable. To be profitable, you need to give results, because just having a really good personality and having a relaxing facial may keep them coming back every once in a while. But if you want them coming back consistently, paying consistently, buying skincare from you consistently, you have to give them results too. So I always talk about, continuing your education, making sure you're up to date, making sure you're like learning about the products that you're using so you can sell them. And then also rebooking. This is one thing, like as far as being profitable, it is simply rebook every single client before they leave your treatment room. Don't ever let a client leave without rebooking them. I see this so often where girls are scared to ask to rebook, or like, would you like to come back? Do not ask them. Be confident in your skills as an esthetician and that you are helping them. And if you're doing that analysis and you're determining, okay, I know what you need, I know what you are asking from me because I've built that connection. Now I'm going to tell you that you need to come back in 3 to 4 weeks so I can give you those results. That is the key. So if you can kind of, cycle through those R's, that is genuinely and wholeheartedly how I've been able to build my business.
I love all of those things. I'm going to incorporate it into my speech from now on. The R's, the R's, the R's. So
Yes.
you unpacked a couple things. One was being confident in your and how you're actually having a relationship with your clients and coming to them with confidence. That is our goal as a brand. Is wish is to empower the esthetician so that you can have a confident conversation with somebody, especially about acne, because it's a situation and it's one size fits one. But something that I find has been very helpful, specifically for newer estheticians, is a lot of my sales training, Mariah, growing up, we would be put on the spot role playing. So way back in my Aveda days, my early, like when I was learning Aveda and how to interact with salon owners, estheticians, hairdressers, nail technicians, because we had so many products, we would actually bring in owners and they would record us and we'd be sitting in front of like 30 other people, our peers.
Yeah.
And I don't get nervous. Like I can go stand on stage in front of 5,000 people, but if it's 5,000 other people that are doing the exact same thing I'm doing, then I'm like, I'm getting totally. So I have been, some of the newer estheticians, I have said, you know what? You know how you get more confident with these conversations? First of all, just go on YouTube. There's hundreds of resources. Go see Mel Robbins' podcast or something and talk about your self-confidence. But role playing, find a girlfriend, your mom, your boyfriend, husband, kids, whatever, and grab a product off your shelf. Talk about it. Talk about the services that you offer. Like have them ask you questions so that you can get through because everyone's giggling and laughing and going through this whole, like, I'm like, get over the nervous part of it, because that's where your confidence comes from. I know my products inside and out because I formulated them. I know all the ingredients, the technologies, the skin types, all of that stuff, but it's all I do every day. So when you are in a situation where you're having a conversation with a client, whether it's about rebooking or what your service is going to be, or even your pricing, the way that you come across, like the inflection points in your voice, if you're like, it's $22. Your $22 inflection point at the end of your sentence said, I'm not really sure that you should pay me $22. Versus it's $25 and then it's going to be your product's $42. I can get you in on Thursday with a very different transaction. I have also found, Mariah, as just a best practice, when people call and they're asking questions or they're sending in information, being transparent at that very first communication point will weed
Totally.
out a lot of like, oh my gosh, that's $300. Okay, well, if you told that client that up front, they're not going to come take up space in your book for someone that is going to be willing to pay a $300 for a service. So
It
the
is so
transparency,
true. It's so true. That's so good.
it's just, and also so being an acne focused brand, when somebody, even when people email in and I'm referring them out to a Wish Pro somewhere in the country, the number one question is, how long is it going to take for my acne to go away? And they're sending an email, right? And I'm like, well, we can't see you. So, and some people do text pictures and I'm like, all right, go see your esthetician. But the setting up a timeline, on average, moderately inflamed, it's going to be about 90 days. It's going to require this many treatments, and you're probably going to spend between $150 and $175 each time you replenish your product.
Yeah.
It immediately sets a stage for people that are going to willing to go through that process with you versus like, oh, I because you told them out of the gate when they called for their consultation. So I love
Right.
it. I love the R's. I love the relationship. I love all of it. So you guys, one of the main reasons, so Mariah's busy. So I'm like, I got to grab her right now. Like, let's sit down and have a conversation. She has some very, very exciting news. And if you follow Mariah, which we'll give all the Instagram stuff at the end, but you have some very exciting news to announce, Mariah. And I'm so happy that you chose to come on here to announce it. I love that. Hi, everybody. This is David Valenzuela. We hope you're enjoying today's episode of I Wish Podcast. I'm hopping on here real quick to let you know that this episode has been generously sponsored by Wish Skin Health. Wish, which stands for Wisdom Inspired Skin Health, is focused on the holistic treatment of acne without the need for potentially harmful prescription medication. If you are looking to level up your aesthetic practice with some sustainable business strategies focused on acne, we would love to have you as a certified Wish Pro. For further information, you can visit trywish.com. That's TRYWISH.com. Click on the Pro tab for further details. Now back to the episode. But tell everybody what your next big project is in Arizona.
Yes, so I am opening up an aesthetic school here in Gilbert, Arizona. I'm so excited. This is my first, I haven't done any,
It's a big, big deal. And I have so many questions about it. So, and I remember when we had lunch, you're like, it was just in your head, like maybe one day I would love to do this because Mariah and I were having lunch and we were talking about education in the industry and sort of the gaps like that happen in between graduating from school and like being launched out into a career where most of the stuff, you guys, it is postgraduate education. So, okay, so talk about it. So what was the first step? Like what happened first?
Well, actually, it's been years in the making because I'm like, go all the way back. Being an esthetician and then learning how to grow my business and be successful as like a solo esthetician did not happen overnight. That took me years to get. So, I'm doing 10 to 15 appointments a day and I'm working 6 days a week and I'm busy and I'm killing it. Right.
Yeah.
And then it was like from that to moving out of state and starting my business from scratch and having no one on my books for 2 months. And I was like, oh my gosh, what is wrong with me? Like,
I have to start over.
I had this, but when you don't know anyone and you have to start from scratch and you go from such a high to such a low, it is devastating. And in my own terms, I felt like my whole world had come crushing down, but it motivated me to like, no, I got this. I can do it. And I started over. So going forward, I was able to grow my business back up. And that is what led me. So many estheticians were reaching out to me like, how did you do it? How did you do it? And so I started training estheticians. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it. I'm going to let these estheticians come down to my space, see me in action, watch me do what I do. I'm going to teach them how to do what I do. And they were getting success. Like they were seeing, a difference in their treatment room from just the skills that I was teaching them. And so through that process, I fell in love with teaching. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I love doing clients and treatments and stuff, but there was like this deep down, I had this like feeling that I could not get rid of. And like I couldn't go to sleep at night without thinking about it. And I couldn't wake up in the morning without thinking about it. I love teaching. I want to teach. Who can I teach? How can I teach? And that's when everything shifted. Obviously, I did not even think that opening up a school was going to be possible for me, because the steps that it takes to do that are not easy and they're not cheap. And there are a lot of things that go with it. So I didn't even think that was an option, but I just knew that training estheticians was something like advanced education and whatnot. So that kind of led me into that. Well, then I became really busy, like with training estheticians, and I was doing live Zoom calls with, up to 30 girls at one time. And then I'm having girls fly from New York to come train with me. And I'm like, wow, like this is incredible. Like, what is going on? And so long story short, going forward, I'm like, I really wanted to open up a school. I would say 2.5 years ago was when I was like, this is going to be my mission, is to open up a school. And I've just honestly been taking small steps, planting small seeds along the way that would eventually grow to where I am today, which is allowing me to open up the school. And I'm just honestly, if I knew everything that I was doing, I would have it all figured out. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. I've never run a school before. I have no idea if it's gonna work. I have no clue. I'm literally taking a leap of faith, and I'm gonna figure it out along the way. And I'm confident that somehow, some way, this is all gonna work out, because I just genuinely love teaching, and I want to empower estheticians or people who aren't estheticians to go through school and get a different experience than I got, and a lot of estheticians that I know got. Like, they did not get proper education. And I want to change the game. And I have this slogan that is a new era of estheticians. Like, I want to breed a brand new era of estheticians who go through school and they are like, I am educated. I am I know what I'm doing. I know how to sell. I know how to be, high achiever in my industry. Like, that's what I want.
Yes. And you guys, if you're listening to this on Apple, or if you're watching this on YouTube, you can tell Mariah is very passionate. We're passionate people with a lot of enthusiasm, which I love this for you. I'm so excited. When I saw the first thing, the first little post about it, I was like, that's exactly the I think that we're about to have, as Melinda would say, the come up is about to happen for estheticians, because they're not acne set aside, but just even knowing what an esthetician is and what they can do, and fostering so as you know, Mariah, that all over the country, I've had the I'll say it's a luxury. It's really been a godsend for me to be able to speak at all these schools across the country, multiple states. And depending on the program, some are dropping in at the first of every month and they're rotating through, and these are getting ready to graduate. And then, like in Florida with a 240-hour program,
right?
It's like, boom. And then what are you supposed to do? Literally. So, and I also, not to throw shade, but there's some brands that are not really necessarily setting estheticians up for success with the training and education and products they get to use in school. So they're kind of left, and they come to me, they send us DMs like, I didn't learn this, or I don't know how to do that. So I'm just your enthusiasm, because you have been on the other side of it now, right? Yeah. Being a solo esthetician, learning how to run your own business, treating clients, the relationship aspect of it, the Ulta, the Sephora, all of that education just adds more value to what you can then provide to a future student. Phenomenal. I love it. So it's going to be called Project Esty, right?
Yep. Yes.
And you are in Santan, Arizona.
Yes. The school will be in Gilbert. Yes.
It's in Gilbert. So, and Gilbert is, for those of you that are not geography friendly, is about how far outside of Phoenix?
30 minutes.
Okay. So suburbish kind of.
Yes, exactly.
I'm so excited because of not only because you are involved in it and all exciting things, but just in addition to you guys getting a solid aesthetic education, okay, fingers in the mouth, don't double dip, don't shock yourself with the steam. I think it's so funny, the education. I'm like, wait a minute, we're learning about voltage today? Wait, I'm speaking in the school, they're on voltage? What? Okay, all those things. But that set aside, the skill set that you're going to actually graduate with is going to be such a different situation, because you really are going to prepare these people. And I know Mariah, and I already know, I can hear her thinking about all the different things that are going to be offered at the school. for
Yeah.
people that want to come back for more advanced training or do some advanced, whether it's social media or acne or dermaplaning or whatever it is, I can already tell this is going to be like a hub for all things master
And
education.
that is exactly what I want it to be. I want it to be a community, the aesthetic community. I just picture, and obviously, like, it's not put together yet. So like this is just my vision, but I truly believe that it will be a place where I want to host events all throughout the year. Like not even,
Mhm.
necessary classes, which I will definitely be hosting lots of classes for advanced education and bring in brands, bring in you, like, I want to do that, but also just events where estheticians can come together. We're supporting each other. Everyone's helping each other. We're learning from each other. And like, just like an environment of like love for estheticians is everything I could ask for. And that's what I plan to do with the space.
Yes, I love it. I'm so excited. So, what is your timeline right now? Like, when do you actually officially want to open?
Okay, so registration for students will open in April, like that where they can actually physically enroll for the program. Because I have to pass the inspection from state board prior to doing that. So honestly, my timeline is like all over the place as far as they could come tomorrow. It could be in 4 weeks. Like I'm on their time.
Yeah.
I do what they say, so I have to wait for that. But tentatively, May, June. May, June is when I will like begin my first classes for students who are enrolled in my 6-month program. It's a 600-hour program. So that will
Mhm.
begin in either end of May, early June. I plan on doing some advanced courses for already licensed estheticians prior to that. So I'm
Yeah.
hoping like May, April,
Yes.
May.
Okay. So you already have, obviously, I saw your story. You already have possession of the space,
Uh,
actively working, getting it up to speed. So you're actually in a like a little shopping center, yeah?
We're in the largest mall in Gilbert, Arizona, and it's actually an outdoor mall. It's an amazing outdoor space. I mean, they have hundreds of other shops and stuff. And what's crazy? Everyone's like, "Why are you opening up a school in a mall?" I know it sounds crazy, but I just have this vision for this. What better spot than like in Arizona where it's hot, people walk around outside, there's a lot of
Yeah.
people, a lot of action, there's a lot of it's also in a higher end area. So I wanted the space to be nice. I didn't want it to be typical school where you go and
Yeah.
it feels like, kind of like a rundown building. No, I want it to be nice. I want you to feel a certain way when you come into my building. And so being there in that location is going to give that atmosphere that I really wanted.
I well, I have to tell you some stories offline because I have all kinds of things about the shopping centers.
I love it.
I got a whole chapter out of my book, and that would probably be a whole nother podcast. So we'll just keep this moving. But I love it. I mean, just the exposure from the mall. I mean, the people and the passersby are like, what's going on in there? Oh,
Right.
esthetician is just going to bring awareness to the area, and it's going to be a sought out destination for going to get training.
Yeah.
Um,
And also
I
the mall, like the girls coming, being able to like go and shop like in between. Like if you're coming from out of town, if you're flying in for advanced trainings, like we're in the middle of an outdoor mall, tons of restaurants, lots of hotels,
yes,
lots of shopping. We got Michael Kors down the street. We got all the good stuff, right? Like I'm
yeah.
just like I wanted to be in a location that was super convenient for everyone.
I I can't wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. I cannot wait. Okay, so we're gonna let everybody know where they can find all your stuff. I got a couple more like skincare questions and like just some funny things. Um, have you seen any DIY practices or at home treatments that you caution clients against?
Oh my gosh. All of them. All of them. Anything that you're seeing on TikTok, anything DIY, I'm gonna say is gonna be a hard pass.
Mhm.
Honestly, like I know that's probably not the answer you're expecting, but if it starts with a D and ends with a Y, it's a no go. Just don't even do it. Go see an esthetician.
Go see an esthetician. So me sitting in the driver's seat, Mariah, for having a brand, and now having thousands of customers using the products, which I'm so grateful and so passionate, and I love all my Wish Pros, and I'm so happy. The stories that I get back with people coming in that are they're getting some really great results with their acne clearing, and then they come in and their face all went crazy, and the
Yeah.
esthetician's like, "What are you like? What is happening? Like, you're way better on your last appointment." And they're like, "Oh, I saw this on TikTok, and so I." And it doesn't even people that I know, coconut oil, clove oil. You guys, things that are extremely, yes, you could probably apply coconut oil to your body as a hydrating product, but if you are acne prone, it's going to be way, way too comedogenic for your face.
Right.
So things that you learn about treating acne, I saw there's I don't know her name right now, but she's in another country and she is constantly posting about her acne. And I, of course, immediately when I see that, I immediately send somebody DM and say, listen, I'm in California. I own a brand. I understand you're international. I would love to help you with your acne. And it's like silence. So I'm like, okay, if that person wants to continue doing what they're doing, but the what they're sharing with the acne community, I'm like, it's cringeworthy. I'm like, you
Yeah.
guys, that's not going to clear your acne. It's
Right.
not going to do it. Like, you're going to make it worse with that advice. And I'm like, David, okay, turn off, get out of Instagram. Stop doing that.
Even
Quit
with like
doing.
the drying the skin out with acne, like, oh, dry out your skin, use, or even when it's like, okay, it's a kit, like acne, 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 everything's acne,
Yeah.
acne, acne. And then it's
Yeah.
like strip, 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 strip. Like
Yeah.
companies are putting together kits that are completely outrageous,
Yeah.
way too many, actives, way too many stripping ingredients. It's like, excuse me, aren't you supposed to be the leaders here? Like, what's going on? Like, this is not going to work.
This is why I love you, and you're so passionate about the education, because you guys, the difference between good and great really is going to be your postgraduate education.
Love that.
If you're a newer esthetician, you're listening to this, and even if you've been practicing for 15, 20 years, you need to go and seek out education. It doesn't matter if it's a self-improvement thing, a confidence thing, something in aesthetics, a new modality, a product, a brand. Continually educating yourself is going to be the difference between good and great. And I've been saying it, we're in an election year, right? And it's not a surprise, you guys. Every 4 years we go through this election cycle. And the economy always gets a little bit bumpy. Weird things happen. We have ups and downs in real estate, like things happen.
Yeah.
And the way that you ride your business, like you keep momentum going, and you don't have to go with what's happening on the nightly news, is by making your business practices sustainable. And that all happens through education.
Yep.
So you don't have to be affected. And I understand, I know girls like to get together and they're complaining, I was slow. Have you been slow? And then everybody is slow. And I'm like, you know what, you guys, there's about 5,000 other estheticians that are really, really busy doing
Yeah.
other stuff that aren't on this chat right now. So take this time and get some more education. Go educate yourself.
Oh,
Keep
for
it
sure.
moving.
I love that you said that because I totally agree. And, we're in a lot of the same Facebook groups. And I'm
Yeah.
like, it's the negativity that is keeping you from growing. So, sister, get off this Facebook group where all these girls are complaining about not being busy and go figure out how and what to do to make yourself stand out. And you're right, it's education and it's thinking outside the box. And the economy is not an excuse because there are lots of women who are spending lots of money. And isn't it ironic that the industry is skyrocketing with people who are paying for these types of services, but
Yeah.
at the same time, there's a huge mass amount of estheticians who are like, my business is dying, I have to shut down. And I'm like, no, you guys, we just need to figure out how to, how to reach them, how to keep them coming back, educate yourself, and just there needs to be more positivity around that. I feel
Like I said earlier in the early podcast, I'm not going to come on here and ever give you advice of something I haven't seen that doesn't work. And I've had a front row seat to aesthetics on a global platform in multiple countries and worked with thousands of estheticians. So I'm never going to come on here and tell you something that is not a successful business practice. And through every economy, it doesn't matter. I've been through multiple recessions in this industry, some worse than others. And you guys, the aesthetics industry is still here. It doesn't all completely die. We have some leveling out, even in the brand space. There's a lot of indie brands that are kind of going away because they don't have a sustainable business. They're all trying to do what everyone else is doing. My friend Jane Warren always says, quit doing what everyone else is doing, do what everyone else is not doing. Like
yep.
make yourself specific to what your offering is.
Yeah.
So I love that. Education, education, education. So looking ahead, and I know that you're always looking forward, and I love this, and you're going to get into the school, and you're going to have a lot of learning that's going to go along with that. But what do you see, Mariah, in the field of aesthetics? What do you see changing? Knowing what we know now and just like way the licensure works, like what do you see changing in the field of aesthetics overall?
I would say more regulation going forward. I think there's becoming like estheticians are becoming upset about the fact that I have to have a license to perform facials, but like someone can go and do lashes and not have to have a license. And, just there's a lot of like technical things, and every state is very different. But I think going forward, they are starting to crack down a little bit more on that and regulate things a little bit better. At least I hope that's where we will go.
Yeah.
As far as like who's regulating what, I feel like
Yes.
they're getting better. It's getting a little bit better, at least in my state. They are
Yeah.
a little bit better. And then also, I would say ingredients that are. I think of this as like the industry as a whole. I feel like more cleaner ingredients people are becoming more aware of that, and they want that. And our clients know now. Like our clients know these ingredients that are on the back of the bottle, and they're like, what is this? And like, this is banned in Europe, so why is it here? And I think it's just because of that, us as estheticians, we're being questioned more about our clients, and we're kind of being challenged a little bit. So I think going forward, it's like important for us to know, like, hey, our clients are aware of what's going on, and we need to be aware of the products that we're bringing in our treatment room and making sure that we're, comfortable with that. I don't know if that answers
Yes.
your question.
No, it does, because the you bringing up talking about regulation, it's a hotbed. And I want everybody that's listening, if you are an aesthetic professional in this industry whatsoever, it is going to require you to be vocal, specifically because all the states are regulated by their own board of cosmetology. The regulations, up in Maine, some of the stuff that's happening right now, it happened in Minnesota a couple years ago. You need to stand up for your industry, because it's like I have a Wish Pro, Emily, shout out, she's in Wisconsin. I have another Wish Pro in Illinois, and it's Illinois, I believe you can't dermaplane it. So she
Right.
sends her dermaplaning clients over to Wisconsin. They're like close on the border, so they can like drive back and forth to the locations. But the
Right.
regulation aspect of it, we don't have reciprocity. So it's not, I have a gal right now that just moved from Florida. She's going through the Wish Pro course right now, and she lives in Georgia. Well, she has to apply for her license again.
Oh my
And they're going to make
goodness.
her do the hours, the difference between the program in Florida and the program in Georgia. So if you guys, you just have to be aware of what's happening in our industry. I just had an interview that just aired, our last interview with Katie Marshall, MBK Acne Detective. It was fascinating to me. I had no idea, Mariah, that you don't have to have a license in Canada to perform aesthetics.
When I watched that, I'm like, what? How? What are you talking about?
And the fact that you can buy a laser and do
Right.
treatments out of your house,
Yeah.
but not have to have an aesthetics license. So she brought up some really good points. So I love talking to Katie, because she's like, I'm quirky, and her personality, it was cracking me up. But it was very apparent to me that, because it's been like 20 years, it's not like this just happened. And I'm like, where have I been this whole time? Because I've been to Canada in that 20 years. Like, what the heck?
Right.
It was very apparent that it slipped away. People weren't paying attention. There wasn't enough attention to it, and it slipped away. And they got to a point where they're like, we're just going to deregulate this,
Right.
which I know in varying states and in the United States, some states, estheticians aren't allowed to fire a laser. Other
Mhm.
states, maybe if it's doctor supervision or they've taught them, they feel like there's, okay, fire a laser. I mean, obviously it's education and training, but
Right.
you guys, the industry, we just have to pay attention to regulations happening within our states and make sure that we're vocal and we're present, specifically when things are up for either deregulation or there's some voting happening about regulating a practice,
Right.
like not being able to do a chemical peel. Like, come on, this is like a big part of the livelihood of the industry. Like,
Right. No, it's so true. It's so true.
we can't absolutely have that. So, Mariah, you talked a little bit at the very beginning about your skin and having acne personally.
Mhm.
What is your guidance right now? So obviously Wish, I know our products do a lot and they treat a lot of other skin conditions other than acne. But what is your approach in educating clients about acne now, and knowing what you know now, all the knowledge that you have now? Like, how do you approach your clients with acne today?
Yeah. So number one, I would say talking about like lifestyle, health, like diet, all of these things that are not just the actual physical products, but
Yes.
how that is going to affect the skin. Obviously, genetics, and there are so many like intrinsic and extrinsic things that can be, the root cause of acne, or it could be there's so much, right? There's so much more than just your diet. You can't just
Yes.
blame it all on one thing. Like obviously there are other factors, but educating them on like foods that they should be avoiding or try to avoid. Obviously, we are not nutritionists.
Nutritionist.
Exactly. But giving them a general idea of like, these are some of the foods that, are going to cause inflammation in the body, and educating them on, honestly, the simplest way to educate my clients is just the inflammation and, I'm trying to think of what the name of the alkalinity of foods. So it's like a triangle. You know what I'm talking about? I don't know why I
Like
cannot.
like having a more alkaline type diet. Oh,
Yes.
I know what
I'm
you're
trying
talking. I
to
know.
think like the food, it's like a
Pyramid thing.
triangle. Yes, we want foods that are low inflammatory. And then the foods that are
Yeah.
high inflammatory, like high processed foods, sugars, all of these things, people assume that this is going to cause the acne. That is not what causes the acne, but it does trigger inflammation in the body. And we
Yes.
know that acne is inflammation. And so
Yes.
that is the correlation. And so when I bring that up to them, it's like mind boggling. Like, oh my gosh, you mean the dairy from the hormones from the dairy could be making my acne worse? Like, yes, cut out the dairy, cut out the sugars. And it's like, you can indulge in those things every once in a while, but if the majority of your diet is that, like, you can't expect to just use products and it's going to take it away. It's like,
Right.
we have to be working together with that as well. And so I would say that's like number one. And then obviously number two, being consistent, teaching them to be consistent. You have to come in for your treatments. You have to be doing this at home. I'm going to check up on you every week and see how your skin's doing and what can we do, and changing, their routine, taking things in and out of the diet throughout their process to figure things out. It's like, I'm figuring it out with you as the client. We're working on this together. I feel like is crucial, is very important.
It is so, and I love that the it's becoming more widely available, the access to information about nutrition and your skin and things that show up in inflammatory foods. Again, you guys, social media. So your clients are going to see this beautiful Instagram TikToker that's drinking green juice, and she's going to talk about how it cleared up her acne. And you know what? It's social media. So you take it for what it is.
Yeah.
We, in the education part of this, and part of the reason why we educate in the course about nutrition and things to avoid is that acne is multifactorial. And just because one person is reactive to maybe peanuts or omega-6s doesn't mean everyone is going to respond that way. It's not going to give everybody acne. So understanding the differences, understanding PCOS, understanding what high sugar and highly refined foods are doing. It's spiking your insulin. Your insulin's then triggering more oil production. If you are predisposed to acne because you've got genetics that are saying you're going to get acne, those types of conversations, that's where you become the expert. I get into these I call them fierce conversations
Yeah.
with dermatologists. But my goal is to this is such an opportunity for estheticians in treating acne and keeping clients off of drugs and all the adverse effects. You are not supposed to be on antibiotics for multiple years. You're not supposed to be on isotretinoin. We're not supposed to take spironolactone. It's such a symptomatic treatment. But
Yeah.
until you get educated in those things and like understanding when a client comes in and says, my doctor prescribed this medication, and you're like, okay, we're not doctors, we're not nutritionists, but we're going to help guide you through the treatment protocol and how
Yep.
to get your skin optimally clear. And you guys, it's going to change. And there is no cookie cutter routine for treating acne.
Right.
Mariah said something very key, checking in with your clients on a weekly basis. Like, how's your skin responding? Are you getting a little bit too dry? Is this happening? Are you experiencing any irritation? This is how you win with acne, and your clients will love you and they will buy retail from you and they will continue to get treatments from you. That is the whole reason we exist.
Exactly.
That is one of my soapboxes, because I get on it all the time about the drug thing. I posted something in my story like a week ago, and it was so the brand, you guys, if you don't know, we all refer to it as Accutane. It's called isotretinoin. It does have some other names that it goes by, usually outside of the US. But the reason that it's not called Accutane anymore is because there were so many lawsuits against it for birth defects and a whole bunch of other myriad of side effects. The drug pamphlet is very long with potential side effects. But so something pops up in my Instagram feed and it says Accutane at the top. And the company is called Clear something. And it was no physician visit required. It was like a virtual appointment. Like, everyone's just virtual doctors now all the time. And I'm like, you guys, you know what? No one in a virtual appointment is going to explain the potential side effects of that medication that could alter you for a lifetime. A
Nope.
lifetime.
I
I'm
was
like,
blown away. I saw you share that. I was blown away. Like, we have really come to this? Really?
I don't, in the medical community, I get it. I have a lot of physician friends. I understand the schooling. I get it specifically when you go into dermatology, how much is
Totally.
actually spent on nutrition. Like it's a whole different thing and a whole nother podcast, but we could go off on another tangent. So Mariah, I love you and I'm so excited for you. Tell the listener where everybody can find you.
Yes, thank you. And I love you too, by the way. Thank you. You can find me on Instagram. That's where I'm like the most active is on Instagram at Mariah SD. And also, I'm like email. Email is great. I'm actually better at responding to my emails than my DMs on Instagram because they get out of control. So if you guys have
Yeah.
questions or like want to reach out to me like directly and get like a more professional like response, definitely email me at projectsd@gmail.com. That's the best way to find me there, or Instagram. That's where I'm at. And I'm usually on Instagram every single day. So you can be sure of that.
I love that. I love following your feed. And you guys, Mariah has built over 70,000 followers on Instagram, which we were talking a little offline before, we got on. That is no small task to actually get that much of a following. And your followers are very engaged with what you're doing. So congratulations on all of that. Congratulations on your continued success. I can't wait to come and see the location. And we'll put it in, it'll probably be like June when you'll be like pump in and like all that stuff. But
Yeah.
that's fantastic. So I appreciate your time today.